The NASCAR Cup Series kicks off the 2022 season with the next-gen car and also at the LA Coliseum. And it puts on a really, really great show and an overall really, really great event. And we see Team Penske and Joey Logano pick up the first victory in the next-gen car. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching the Busch Clash at the Coliseum, and I really, really enjoyed this race. We're now going to talk about it overall. So let's first talk about all the heat races, and then we'll jump into last chance qualifiers and talk about the mains. So in race number one, heat number one, it pretty much went straight forward. No cautions in the event. Kyle Busch put on a really, really dominant clinic. The only really thing that happened in heat number one was a really good battle between Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ryan Blaney, and Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin was in there for a little bit in the first heat. Then he got passed by Stenhouse and Blaney, and then he fell out, and he would basically have to go into the last chance qualifier. So the four people that would advance with Kyle Busch winning were Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez advanced finishing second, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Ryan Blaney would all advance to the main, while Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, Todd Gilliland, Eric Almirola, which, by the way, we'll talk about Eric Almirola a little bit too later, and BJ McLeod would all have to race in the last chance qualifier. Qualifying heat number two was also pretty straightforward. Bubba Wallace actually was really, really good in the early portions of that run, but unfortunately the car really fell off at the end, and unfortunately he did not have an opportunity to compete in the main, did not get into the main early. So the four drivers that would advance were Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Austin Dillon, and Cole Custer, while Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, and Mark Truex Jr., which we'll get to him in a little bit, Harrison Burton and Brad Keselowski would all have to race in the last chance of qualifiers. Qualifying heat number three was also really, really straightforward, and there would be Justin Haley, William Byron, Christopher Bell, and Chase Elliott would all advance there, while AJ Allmendinger, Kevin Harvick, Chris Buescher, Cody Ware, and Corey LaJoie would all have to race in the last chance qualifier. Then qualifying heat number four was where there was a little bit more stuff that happened. I think there was a caution or two for a spin. I think Landon Castle got spun by somebody. I also think Ryan Preece had some issues in that heat. Other than that, though, it was a very, very straightforward heat, and we would see Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Michael McDowell, and Eric Jones, who all were in the top four to begin with anyways in their heats. They would all advance. And now Austin Cindric, Ryan Preece, Kurt Busch, Landon Castle, and Ty Dillon, they would have to race into the main show. Then we get the last chance qualifier, and there was one or two yellows that happened this, but it was basically straightforward. Denny Hamlin would pretty much dominate the early portions, and a few laps into the run, we would see some contact between Eric Almirola and Todd Gilliland. Eric Almirola kind of went up the track a little bit and kind of cleared up Todd Gilliland. Then Todd Gilliland came down and got into Eric Almirola, and now Eric Almirola made the first major contact of the season. He would get into the outside wall really, really hard. Right after that, I think we went green the rest of the way, and it basically, for a lot of it, Ross Chastain was up there and was looking really, really good to be in the show. And then, unfortunately, his car fell off in the last chance qualifiers, and unfortunately, he didn't have an opportunity to get into the event. And then we also saw Cody Ware. Yes, the Rick Ware cars were extremely fast in the races, and it looked like Cody Ware was almost going to make it into the show, but unfortunately, he didn't make it into the show. But the three that advanced from the last chance qualifiers were Denny Hamlin, who dominated. Kevin Harvick was actually catching Denny Hamlin in the last chance qualifiers. And then, of course, Allmendinger will be the last one who would get into the main event overall, while Cody Ware, Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain, Corey LaJoie, Todd Gilliland, BJ McLeod, and Eric Almirola would not advance to the A main. And then we get the last chance qualifier number two. And there was a lot of stuff that happened in the last chance qualifier number two. Holy crap, this race was absolutely nuts. There was a bunch of cautions that happened, multiple spins, a lot of aggression, and there's a lot of stupidity. Ty Dillon basically got one or two penalties. He actually had one the last chance qualifier number two. It basically jumped the last restart. Then on one of the earlier restarts, which Kurt Busch had dominated this last chance qualifier, he had some major issues. And then there was a lot of wrecks that happened, a lot of stupidity in the last chance qualifier. You had Landon Castle get turned in this last chance qualifier. He had him turn Brad Keselowski. Keselowski got some damage in that. Mark Truex Jr. also decided not to race in this last chance qualifier. Basically, he got the provisional. He would not race in this last chance qualifier as well. Then he had Kurt Busch, who basically got into it with Bubba Wallace at the end. Kurt Busch got into the outside wall really, really hard, and unfortunately, he didn't race in. Also, Alex Bowman, he got a lot of damage too, and he fell out of the race. And then I can mention it looked like that Ty Dillon was actually going to make it into the main show and the main event, but unfortunately Ty Dillon, he basically got on the jump the restart at the end. We didn't really get to see him jump the restart. We didn't really know if he had jumped the restart, how much he had jumped the restart. But Ty Dillon pretty much, he would basically jump the restart, and unfortunately on the last restart, unfortunately, he would not make it into the show. Because it is the three drivers that advance, were Ryan Preece and Ricker Racing, who won it, Bubba Wallace, and then Harrison Burton, who actually got spun earlier in as well from contact from Ty Dillon. And I will say that I don't understand why they were like Ryan Preece, Ty Dillon, and Harrison Burton racing each other hard when they're in the top three. That last chance qualifier was honestly really, really kind of dumb, but it is what it is. So after that, these were the drivers that advanced to the main, everyone that's in it. You would have Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, Justin Haley, Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon, Christopher Bell, Michael McDowell, Ryan Blaney, Cole Custer, Chase Elliott, Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Preece, Kevin Harvick, Bubba Wallace, AJ Allmendinger, Harrison Burton, and Mark Truex Jr. all racing in the overall main event. And now we get into the main race. And I will say that the main race is overall really, really good. Before that, we basically had had a little bit of a pre-race concert with Pitbull. I thought it was pretty good pre-race concert in my opinion. Pitbull was trying to get the crowd amped up, but the crowd overall wasn't doing a really, really great job on the part of getting it amped up. And now we'll jump into the overall race because really from the beginning, it was really overall very, very straightforward start of the race. So also, AJ Allmendinger would have to go to the rear field for unapproved adjustments. So, on the start of the race, you have Kyle Busch leading on the inside and Tyler Reddick on the outside, and Kyle Busch would actually lead the first lap. Then, a few laps later, Tyler Reddick, who honestly had the fastest car early in the race, he basically got it to the outside of Kyle Busch, and he got the race lead on lap number 3. And then the race pretty much went straight forward. Not much happened. You had Kyle Larson making some really, really good moves from about 6th or 7th position. He was really starting to make some really, really aggressive moves. And then we see Tyler Reddick get held up by Mark Truex Jr. And Denny Hamlin actually got around Tyler Reddick, and he tried to make a pass in the main event. The first caution would come out on lap 53. It took them that long to get to that caution. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. spin off of turn number 4, and then Denny Hamlin would actually go to the infield for a mechanical problem. And then a couple other contenders had some mechanical problems. Chase Briscoe was up to the 4th at the time. He actually had to go to the track after basically having a driveline issue. And then Tyler Reddick, who was leading the race and dominating the race, he actually had another driver who had a driveline issue. So he would basically go to the garage and follow the race, unfortunately. And then on the restart, Kyle Busch on the inside and Joey Logano on the outside, and Kyle Busch kept the race lead on that restart. But then, 10 laps later, Kyle Busch leading the race. Chase Elliott would spin off of turn number 2, battling for 7th with one off Ryan Blaney. Looked like though a wheel hop, it really had nothing to do with that, and that would bring out the caution of this race. Then on the restart, because remember, caution laps did not count in this race, Kyle Busch would lead on the inside and Joey Logano would lead on the outside, and Kyle Busch got the race lead. But then Joey Logano started getting aggressive right before the halftime break, because remember, there was a halftime break in this event for Ice Cube making a really, really cool performance in there. Kyle Busch actually was able to hold on. Actually, Joey Logano had gotten around him on the bump and run, but NASCAR basically said it was invalid, and Kyle Busch was able to keep the race lead because they got to lap 75, and Kyle Busch kept the race lead. And then after the halftime show with Ice Cube, people were basically not bopping and were not basically wilding with the halftime show. I actually really enjoyed the halftime show. And the event was super, super cool, by the way. But that happened, and then I thought it was really, really cool. And then we got to the restart on lap 76 with Kyle Busch leading the inside, and William would be on the inside, and William Byron on the outside with the choose rule. And Kyle Busch kept the restart on the race. And then Kyle Larson made a really, really aggressive move with Joey Logano to the inside, and then Kyle Busch again would dominate this next portion of this event, and Kyle Busch started catching some lap traffic, and Joey Logano really started showing up here at the end of the race. And then with 36 laps to go, Ryan Blaney would get a ton of damage after contact from Eric Jones. He would get a right rear suspension broken and get into the outside wall and brought out the caution. And then we would see some tempers flare. Ryan Blaney, after going into the infield, he was not happy and got really, really mad and threw his Hansa Vice at Eric Jones, and he was pissed at Eric Jones after that. And basically, he would basically later come back on the track, but he was mad. He was angry at Eric Jones, and usually you won't see Ryan Blaney that mad. And then on the restart, Kyle Busch on the inside and Joey Logano on the outside, and Kyle Busch is able to keep the race lead. And then Kyle Larson drove up the track, and then Kyle Larson thought it was Justin Haley got into him. William Byron got it back at Justin Haley, but Kyle Larson didn't notice that, and Kyle Larson drove way down to the inside of the track and forced Justin Haley into the inside wall really, really hard. And Justin Haley was not very happy. And I will say this, I am the biggest Kyle Larson fan. But Kyle Larson was a little bit overboard with that. I think Kyle Larson was a little bit over the line and a little bit over there, in my opinion, and he shouldn't have gotten that aggressive. I've been a Kyle Larson fan for about 10 years now, and I've never seen Kyle Larson get that pissed off. And I hope it's just for the Clash he was that mad. But man, he was not happy, was a little bit overboard there in getting Justin Haley. Justin Haley looked okay. Kyle Larson was not happy. And then on the restart with 34 laps to go, you have Joey Logano who actually got the lead on Kyle Busch during that. Joey Logano lead on the inside and Kyle Larson on the outside, and Logano was able to get the race lead. And then with 24 laps to go, we have to see Kyle Busch pass Kyle Larson, and Kyle Larson then started getting a little bit free train from guys like Austin Dillon, who was up there, Eric Jones, William Byron, and also I think Christopher Bell was trying to get there as well to make a run at it with 24 to go. And then it would come down to a battle between Joey Logano and Kyle Busch for the overall victory. Joe Logano was basically getting held up by some traffic at the end, and Kyle Busch started making up a lot of ground. But near the end of the race, Joe Logano's car really came in, and he started to pull away. Kyle Busch tries to set it, but unfortunately locks the tires up, and it's not enough. And coming off the corner, Joey Logano comes off the corner, and just like at Bristol Dirt, we come to a new racetrack, and Joey Logano picks up the victory in the Busch-like Clash. Congratulations, Joey Logano, picking up technically the first ever victory in the next-gen car in the history of the event. Very good race for Joey Logano. That 22 car, considering that they were not really fast early in the weekend. They were super slow in the early weekend. They got the car set up perfectly, and that car came into fruition, and he was able to come back and win this weekend. So huge congratulations to Joey Logano. This is technically his first win, even though it's not an official win. This is his first win since Bristol Dirt. So congratulations to Joey Logano on picking up the victory. He deserved to have one of the best cars in the event. Not much to say here. Joey Logano picks up the win in the Busch Clash. So now let's go through the race results and then talk about the race overall. Joey Logano picks up the victory. Kyle Busch finishes second. I'll tell you this, I think Kyle Busch most of this race had the best car and probably the best car in most of this event. It did look like on the longer run, his car kind of fell off. In the middle of the run, the early portion of the run, I think he had the best car. But as we got later into the run, Kyle Busch's car really fell off, and it did not look like he had the overall speed to contend with Joey Logano at the end of the day. But Kyle Busch had a very strong run. Finished second. Good way to start the weekend. I think KFB is back. I think that Kyle Busch is going to be a lot better this year. Austin Dillon finished his third. Very strong run from Austin Dillon. That 3 car looked really good at the end. He was really starting to come into his own at the end of the race. So a very strong run for Austin Dillon. He finishes in third. Eric Jones finished his fourth. Really good run for Eric Jones in the 43 car. He was pretty fast throughout the weekend. That 43 car, Petty GMS team, I think that's a team to watch for this year. That 43 car looked pretty good, ran top 10 all day, gets a really solid top 5 finish. He had some interesting comments to Ryan Blaney at the end of the race, after the race was over, but a very solid top 5 regardless. He finishes in fourth. Kyle Larson finishes fifth. Kyle Larson did not have the best car overall, and I was not overall the crappiest with what Kyle Larson did there with Justin Haley. But his car kind of fell off at the end of the race. He probably had a third or fourth place car most of the day. But I think that 5 team will be very strong this year. I think that this is just an outlier event compared to what I think Larson's going to do throughout this year. Very strong run, though, for Kyle Larson. He finishes in fifth. William Byron finished sixth. Solid top 10 run from William Byron. Was really never a factor in this race, but a solid top 10 run from William Byron. Good run for him. Cole Custer finished in seventh. Good way to start this year. This, to me, is kind of a year where he needs to really step it up to the plate. And getting a top 10 this weekend, that's a good way to start it off. He finishes in seventh. Christopher finished in eighth. Saw a run. I'll admit, I thought Christopher was going to do a little bit better in this race than he had looked throughout the weekend. I think Christopher had a really good shot to win. It looked like he was going to have a good shot to win the overall event this year, but unfortunately, the car kind of fell off. AJ Allmendinger finishes ninth. Solid top 10 run to start the year in that 16 car. That 16 car wasn't as good as 31 car this weekend, but a ninth place run for him. Very solid run. Kevin Harvick finishes 10th. Not a bad run for Kevin Harvick to start this year. 10th place finish, Kevin Harvick. Not much to say there. Chase Elliott finished 11th, albeit I thought Chase Elliott was honestly going to do a little bit better. He basically got spun out. I thought his car was going to be better than it was in this event. But 11th place finish, not a bad finish overall, but I thought Chase Elliott was going to be more of a threat this weekend than he was. Harrison Burr finishes 12th. Not a bad run for the rookie. He finishes in 12th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finishes in 13th. Daniel Suarez finishes 14th. A little disappointing for Daniel Suarez. That car was top 5 this weekend. I thought he was going to finish in the top 5 or contend for the overall victory. But a top 15 to start this year with Trackhouse expanding to a 2-car operation. Not much to say there. He finishes in 14th. Mark Truex Jr. finished as 15th. Mark Truex Jr. was horrendous this weekend. That 19 team was absolutely off. They were not really fast in the practice sessions. They're way off the pace, and they were not very good this weekend. Not a great run for Mark Truex Jr., but he did recover a little bit to finish 15th. Michael McDowell finishes 16th. Had a decent weekend here. Finished 16th. Not too bad. Ryan Blaney finishes in 17th after his issues. Ryan Blaney looked good in the heats and stuff, but unfortunately didn't have a chance to contend for the overall victory. Bubba Wallace finishes 18th. Bubba Wallace was very disappointing. That 23-11 was way off this weekend. They did not have the overall pace, and that 23 was struggling. Bubba Wallace is not very happy in the practice. Basically said the car was absolutely horrendous, but he finished his 18th, and hey, he still made the race, so that's what counts, right? Justin Haley finished his 19th. Justin Haley does not deserve to finish where he did. He should have finished up front. Justin Haley was absolutely the star of the weekend. He had a really good chance to win this race. He had a top 2 or top 3 car most of the weekend, and I expect that he will be really good this year. He was definitely a standout performer. Won his heat, was absolutely fast in the practice sessions. I did not expect Justin Haley to be as good as he was. I know he's a really good short track racer, but I did not expect him to be as good as he was in this event. But a really strong run for Justin Haley. He finished 19th. Ryan Preece finishes 20th. Ryan Preece had, I think, electrical problem or oil issue. That's why he finishes in 20th. Tyler Reddick finished 21st. Man, I think he actually had the best car. If it wasn't for the electrical issues, probably could have contended for the victory. But that 8 car is going to be strong this year. You know that Tyler Reddick's going to be good this year. Chase Briscoe finishes 22nd. Chase Briscoe, unfortunately, also had electrical issues. Fortunately, 22nd. Not a great run for him. Then, unfortunately, Denny Hamlin with his issues. He finishes last in today's race. So now let's overall talk about the race, and then I'll give you my score of today's event. I thought that this event was absolutely incredible. I have to give major props to NASCAR for how much work they put into this and how much they did on this. I did not expect this event to be as good as they did, and NASCAR did an incredible job. They did a really good job bringing new people in. 70% of the fans at this race, 30, which is about 35,000 to show up to this event, basically were fans that have never been to a NASCAR race. That does not mean that they're new NASCAR fans. It's just they've never been able to go out to a NASCAR race. And of course, they got so many celebrities. You had a D'Amelios there, and you had other people like celebrities inside the game that were in as well. I thought the halftime show was really, really cool with Ice Cube. I thought that was a really, really cool event. I don't think they should do halftime shows every time, but I thought overall this event was very, very successful. And I thought it was going to be a crapshoot of a race. It really wasn't a crapshoot. It was very, very entertaining. And I have to say that I believe that in 2023, if this becomes up the table, I think this needs to happen. I 1000% think we need to come back to the LA Coliseum. The only thing that I will complain about this race is I wish the race was a little bit longer. I feel like 150 laps of this race was a little bit short because the race went really, really fast. I will say the race wasn't long. We want to have it within a 2-hour limit, especially for newer fans, for the short race. But I think the race should have been 200 laps instead of 150 laps. I think the race should have been a little bit longer. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed this race. So my score of this event, I am going to give today's Clash a 9.5 out of 10. It was nearly perfect race. I do wish it was a little bit better in the main, but I thought the event overall was extremely successful and a really, really great way to kick off the year with the new cars. This is a much better way they've kicked off a new car than the Gen 6 car was. That was very, very impressive. Another thing, as I say, I know we saw a lot of mechanical problems. I think as we get farther into the year, and I think that this event is so much different than other events that I don't think we'll see as many mechanical problems as we did in this event, but you never know. We may see those mechanical problems. So like I said, my score is a 9.5 out of 10. It was a nearly perfect score. I really enjoyed it. So anyway, that is going to be for my race review from the Busch Light Clash. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below for that. And comment your thoughts on today's race and weekend. What are your thoughts about today's race and weekend? Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know your score in the comments below. And congratulate Joey Logano on winning the race. I'm so happy that NASCAR is back. In 2 weeks, we're headed to Daytona to basically kick off the regular season with the Daytona 500. I'm super pumped up, super excited to get this season rolling, and I'm looking forward to the Daytona 500. We're getting really close, and we're now officially starting the season. NASCAR is back. I'm super pumped. I've not been as hyped in a long time for a season, and the season kicked off on the right foot. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.